Now what will it be? Death or exile?
I thought I already done told y'all to get off my property, okay? So if y'all want to get crazy, we can get crazy. Now the cops are already on their way.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another installment of the Film Exiles podcast. Today, myself and the great Alejandro Salazar, the one, the only, the maker of the Sunshine video for the Film Exiles Network, is with us.
Okay. Hey, what's up, guys?
Was that too much?
No, I just didn't expect that kind of introduction.
I mean, like after Gray's introduction on the Shazam pod, I kind of gotta step my game up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I also did the ambition of Zack Snyder's Superman article.
Tell him, an awesome piece, a great piece that's actually gotten quite a few readers. So if you haven't checked that out yet, you should definitely find it at our WordPress, the same WordPress where we dropped that Dark Side news, which was awesome, by the way. Thank you, everybody, for the attention that y'all gave us through that. So thank you. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. Today we are here to talk about Jordan Peele's latest release, Us. So Sal, what did you think of the movie? Before we get into that, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, and I can't wait to talk about probably, I think this is my favorite movie of the year so far.
I mean, you told me that the other day, and I was going to fight you on it.
But then you're like, what has 2019 done for me lately?
Exactly. Like, I'm trying to think of the movies that I've seen so far, but we're just in April, so there's still a lot more time. But
Right.
I'm like, Us is like a bit higher up than, say, not another romantic comedy.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you saw that movie.
No, that was a movie that came out this year?
Yeah, with Rebel Wilson.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Rebel Wilson, and then Baby Thor, and whatchamacallit?
Oh, you mean Liam?
Yeah, Liam, and Priyanka Chopra. That was an interesting movie.
I think I know what you're talking about.
All right, I would assume that you would. So, why don't we get started and talk about Sal? Why don't you give us your initial thoughts, spoiler free for the people who haven't seen it yet?
Well, I think Us is definitely a bigger step up for Jordan Peele as far as he's like sending a broader message in this film, and I think his filmmaking prowess. I'm not sure on like who did the score for Get Out versus this and cinematography and that. But this is definitely a step up in the technical stuff, in the writing. The directing overall, I loved all the performances, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it more. And I don't always like to do comparisons and such, but this is his second film, so I do feel like this is a good progression for what has been a short career so far for Jordan Peele. I really enjoy just the overall kind of. Like, I feel like if people felt like Get Out was trying to be woke, this is like woke times 10 almost. And it's kind of going like under the radar. This movie doesn't really have the same kind of hype behind it, which you could talk about that. Like, maybe we could talk about that later in the podcast, but yeah, it's just.
I think you make a very good point, and you've made that
my
point
theory.
before. Yeah, you've made that point before, and I think it's really interesting, and I definitely want us to touch on it.
Yeah, sure. We could talk about that later in the pod.
Yeah,
but yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I really think it's a great next step in the career for Jordan Peele. I can't wait to see what he does next, directing wise, because he has a lot of things going on producing wise.
Yeah, true. He's got the Twilight Zone thing going on right now, and
yeah, he's doing. I think he's producing that Candyman remake.
Okay. Oh, and not to mention, he produced Black Klansman from last year.
Yeah, that's true. And the Candyman remake has one of the cast members of Us is the Candyman, the guy that played Black Manta. What's his name?
Yahya Abdul-Mateen II.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. Okay.
So
That's
little
awesome.
connection there.
I didn't know that actually. All right. Well, coming from somebody who did not like Get Out, I really did not like Get Out. It's not that it was a bad movie; it just didn't speak to my sensibilities, and I thought the third act was very weak. Um, I went into this movie not really sure what to expect. I think you saw it before I did, and you gave it a great review. So I'm like, okay, if Sal is, because I think that you were with me, you weren't feeling the movie as much as a lot of the people out there, right?
Yeah, I'm not too big on Get Out. It's the same thing. It's not like offensive to me or anything or whatever. It's just kind of all right movie.
Yeah,
I definitely appreciate what it's trying to do and talk about.
yeah.
But yeah, us, I was just like, you know what? Hey, this is someone who is trying to be different and have a different style out here in the Hollywood landscape. So I'm gonna go support him, and I ended up being very surprised and very blown away by the movie.
And I'll agree with that. I went into it with very low expectations, and I came out with it. Actually, my first viewing, I came out of my first viewing not really sure what I had seen, and then the more I thought about it, and then the more you and I were talking, like more things kept hitting me, and
Yeah,
I began to appreciate what the film was doing a lot more. I've seen it two more times since then, and my enjoyment of it has grown with each time, and my respect for what Peel was attempting to do, what he was capable of doing, and what I feel that there's a lot of things that I'm very disappointed that the film has not earned the conversation that I wish it would have had, because I think that it's tackling on so many relevant issues and so many relevant topics and so many things that I think that everybody kind of faces on a daily basis, but to like various incremental to various different levels. And I think that it's such a shame, because I do believe that this film would have been a great opening salvo to talk about a number of different topics. But all in all, it's a very, very well made film. It's well shot. It's well edited. You mentioned the score earlier. I think the score is fantastic. And I really enjoyed the denouement in the third act. I think that how everything builds up to that climax works beautifully.
yeah.
And we have two wonderful performances from Lupita Nyong'o, who really is the star of this film. She's absolutely amazing, and she's even more amazing on rewatches when you realize what she's actually doing. And I think that it's a film that really fires on all cylinders. I can't think too much about things that I don't like about it. They might pop up as we talk about it over the conversation. But all in all, I think that this was a great step up from his first film, and I really can't wait to see what he does next. Especially since I read somewhere that he has like a four movie plan. So it seems
Like a one story or several, like four
I,
different stories.
I'm not exactly sure, but it's the from what I understand, it's like these movies have some tangential connection to each other, and we might be able to talk about that once we. This is like we'll
Wait,
talk about that when we pass the spoiler world.
okay, is
We
that four movies from now, or we're halfway
we're
through it?
halfway through it. Get Out
Oh,
was the
okay.
first, this one, and then there's two more that he's planning on making. And I honestly can't wait to see what does next. And that's saying a lot coming from someone who did not really enjoy Get Out. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, he always maintained that these are like social films,
and
like that he's trying to make like a new genre almost.
yeah, and I feel like Us is a perfect. I think Us really portrays that very well. I really
Yeah,
believe that, and I'll mention this before we go over the spoiler wall. What I really liked about Us is that race does play a factor, but it is not the main factor. And
it's not
I
like
think
Get Out.
exactly. I think that that's why I prefer the approach here. The approach to those issues is done on a much more, let's say, philosophical level, or I think that's the right way of putting it, and that he casted a black family at the center of it, but he did not have to. And I think that that
Yeah, their skin color is never brought up
it's
throughout the
not,
movie.
and anybody could have been the main family. It could have been blacks or whites,
Yeah.
Latinos, Asians. It really did not matter, and I think that that's something that I really deeply appreciate. It's really great to see this kind of representation where it's not in your face. It does not matter. It just is, and I think that I
Yeah, and they
appreciate that
weren't
quite a
like
bit.
overly pandering either about them being black. Like there was no pop culture references or they didn't act a certain way. They just were people.
Yes, exactly. They were just people. They just
Like
happened to be black, and I think that that's something that I greatly, greatly appreciated from Jordan Peele and from the cast.
yeah, absolutely. I agree.
All right, so shall we, be done with this whole, with the veil of
Well, yeah, beating
secrecy?
around the bush.
Yeah, and just jump over the spoiler wall and get into it.
Yeah, I'm with it.
Okay, well, to those who have yet to see us, please go back and watch the movie before, because we're about to start getting to spoiler territory. But from what you can hear, Sal and I both thoroughly enjoyed this film, and there's so much to talk about, and we're about to get into it. So please watch it beforehand so we don't spoil anything, because I really do want you guys to be part of the conversation, because it should be a conversation that should have been had for quite some time now. So Sal, let's do it. Let's start talking about performances.
Yeah, sure. You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead. Why don't you tell me what performance stood out the most to you? Even though that should be a very, very easy question to answer.
I'll actually go a different way because I feel like the Lupita conversation, you could have it. You could talk about it.
How am I supposed to have it by
Um,
myself, though?
I'll contribute, but I'll say this: Winston Duke. I think he played his role very well. He was very entertaining. He was very engaging. His character is very three-dimensional, even though like maybe in some scenes or at first glance he's like you think you get him, but he's actually a very smart character. And and then a much smaller character that I really appreciated was Yaha. Is that how you say it? Yaha Abdul Mateen's character,
Hmm.
who played Lupita's father in the flashbacks. I felt like him and even Anna Diop. A lot of the cinematography for them is like very from afar,
Yeah, yeah. So
and
yeah,
like
Peel kept that perspective through the child's eye thing that was really it was really amazing because
yeah,
because the parallel of it from the beginning when you see it through Adelaide and then the end when you see it through Red's perspective and you
yeah.
see just how different their perspective on this one particular evening was.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and especially like when you first meet, his name is Russell Thomas, Yaha's character, uh, and what's it called? He's like playing drunk. Like I just from like the get go, I was like, he's playing drunk like really well, like the way he's walking and
The,
speaking,
I,
slurring his words.
I loved like his whole energy and his like everything like all of his movements seem so exaggerated for like no good reason.
But
I
it wasn't like acting drunk. It was like he's drunk.
yeah,
Like I really believed it.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, and then like there's even like when she's in the car, like and they're just showing when it's either Red or what's her character's name? Lupita's
uh,
character,
Adelaide.
Adelaide. It's just their voices, and you believe it so much that he's very very defensive about fucking up that he lost his daughter, and she's like absolutely like terrified that they lost their daughter for I guess probably like an hour that they lost her.
It was no, it was like 15 minutes.
But well, I mean, I'm just assuming because like in the movie can always be like a different thing than
No, no.
what we're presented.
If I remember, I think he says it was only 15 minutes.
Oh, okay, okay.
I'm pretty
Yeah, I
sure.
think I do remember that now.
I'm pretty sure he said it was only like when he's defending himself, it was only 15 minutes, and she's like anything could have happened in that time, and she's right. Like 15 minutes, not knowing where your kid is, that your whole world gets shaken up.
Yeah,
But you know what I also really appreciate is in the short amount of time that we get with the two of them, we get so much insight into their relationship. Like you can tell that it's not a happy home. There's a
No.
lot of tension, there's a lot of anger and resentment between the two parents, and you can tell right away.
Yeah,
And
he seems like a very easygoing, like fun dad
yeah,
who likes to drink, and
yeah.
she's like a no. He seems like it, like because he I think in other scenes he has like a flask and he like steps out for a smoke.
Yeah, that's the one they go see the therapist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then and the mother, she seems like very, kind of like not strict but sort of straight laced. Just the complete opposite. The whole yin and yang. They're very opposite kind of parents,
Yeah, but
and that really comes off.
yeah, and what I really enjoy is that even though they're very different and they have different approaches, I really like how the love that they have for Adelaide, you can sense it. Like it's still there
Yeah,
regardless of whatever issues that there might be. And I think that that's also something else that the film is trying to talk about, like this, the fact that Adelaide had a loving duo and two people that loved her and the effect that it could have had on her. Because if you think about how Red was raised in that environment, to be able to grow into the woman that she was able to grow into, that speaks a lot to the kind of parents that they were.
true. Yeah, it's about taking in like whatever she is,
Yeah,
and
yeah, like because you got to imagine what life underneath those tunnels must have been like, you know. And from the looks of it, Adelaide was capable of I'm sorry, Red was capable of creating a life for herself. She has a beautiful, wonderful family. They seem to be, well, maybe not as successful as the Tylers that we meet later on, but
right.
but they seem to have a very solid life and a very great family foundation. And I do believe that the loving nature of her parents had a big part to play in that. And I do think that that is also something that Jordan Peele was trying to instill in this film's message.
Absolutely, I agree. I could see that.
So before we get to Lupita, also want to add that. So my first viewing, I was kind of, I think I told you about this. Like I was kind of a little bit put off by Winston Duke. I just thought, like, dude,
I
like,
remember that.
yeah, I was like, dude, come on, man, like, look at what is going on. Like, you have these four people who look just like your family in your house, and you're trying to give them your boat, like, your boat that doesn't even work, you know? And I was like, and I thought that some of his humor was very misplaced and misguided. But upon talking to you and like with rewatches, I kind of see where it was coming from. I kind of understand this perspective, that this idea that, like it felt like he just didn't know how to deal with what was in front of him. He didn't understand the dangers that were facing his family, and he couldn't fully realize the fact that this situation was something abnormal, you know?
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah, it's definitely something you have to be empathetic towards,
yes,
because
exactly.
you forget that you know all the details, having seen it or having being like a film viewer the first time. You kind of like pick up on like either it's the marketing or something that in the movie has told you something. You
Mhm.
forget that, oh, he's just a guy who showed up with his family a day ago. They just had a good day at the beach. Like it's a completely different position that you are in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
I did enjoy his performance more on rewatches. But I think that Elizabeth Moss, who plays Kitty Tyler, is actually
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah, she's really good.
She is phenomenal. The scene where she is her other counterpart, Delia, that's apparently the name is Delia, and she
It's
had
Dahlia,
Dahlia, and she
like
is.
Black Dahlia.
Oh, actually, I didn't catch that. Good job, dog.
Well, it's spelled the same way, and I think it's kind of like a reference because she gets her doppelganger Kitty gets surgery,
Yeah,
and she already has like scars on her face, and
which
she
was a
like puts another one there.
yeah, yeah, and I love the scene where she's like looking at herself in the mirror, and
Yeah.
again, like mirrors play such a big role into this film,
All reflections, doubles, real, fake, all that.
and tell me if I'm not mistaken. There are no mirrors. We don't see any mirrors in the underground, right?
No, everything is metal or cement,
Yeah.
and
There's there's no glass.
no
So
windows of any type either.
yeah. So like this is maybe the first time she sees herself.
Right.
That's kind of crazy to think about. Like this is the first time that she gets a reflection of what she really of the face that she puts out into the world. Like I think that
Yeah, that's
that's
very true. I didn't think about that.
and what does she do? She toys with her emotions. Like she laughs wildly just to see what that looks like, and then
Yeah.
she pretends to cry. And I think that that's magnificent. And then when her husband Josh, or well Josh and Tex both die.
Yeah.
They both die. But when Tex is being killed by Gabe, and she's looking out the window again, it seems like she's more perplexed with the reactions on her face than she is with what she's actually seeing.
Yeah, because at first she's crying and then she starts laughing
Laughing.
hysterically.
Exactly. It's so well shot too. Like it's wonderful filmmaking on the part of Peele, honestly.
Yeah, no, it's a really great shot. Actually distinctly remember it on the second viewing. I was like, damn, this is a great piece right here.
Yeah, it is.
And just to mention, the guy that played Tex and Josh Tyler, the husband, Elizabeth Moss's husband, he did a great job as Tex.
He was. He
He
was.
he looked like he was having so much fun.
Yeah. One thing that I did notice on my last viewing is there's a moment where Abraham and Gabe are on the boat, and Gabe is pretending to be knocked out, and then Abraham starts yelling out, and then somebody answers, and
Uh,
this is before we realize that there are more copies than just that family.
right.
Yeah, so
Which by the way, that's a big like when that first happened. What did you think,
I was like, what the fuck is going on?
bro? When there was like when I saw Elizabeth Moss and what's his name, Tim Heidecker, I was like, wait, what the fuck is this movie about?
Yeah, like, cause I think that it completely changes everything that had taken place up to that point. I think that from the marketing that we saw, from everything that the movie led us to believe it was about, this completely flipped all of that on its ear.
Yeah, there's nothing in the marketing about other doppelgangers at
No,
all.
nothing. And the way that they just show up in the house, like it's nothing. It's like even like Adelaide's family, they stood out front and they scared them first before they entered, because that I felt like that was Adelaide trying to get revenge on Red, any way that she could. Like she wanted revenge. She wanted to drag that out as much as possible.
Well, they're doing like the Hands Across America too.
Yeah, yeah.
They're doing their holy hands and the same way at the end.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're right. You're right about that. Yeah. So, but this time they just walked in and just killed them. And it was
Yeah, yeah.
violent and it was fast, and then the twins were killed too. Like it was yeah, I was completely like, what the fuck is going on right now?
Yeah, it's very impersonal compared to what was going on at the Wilson house.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
But yeah, so you were saying Abraham calls out to
I'm
another.
guessing he's calling out to Tex, right? Because
It sounds like him.
it sounds like it's Tex that he's talking to.
Yeah, because Tex had like more of like a raptor, like from Jurassic Park kind of thing going on.
And it
And, Abraham sounded like, he sounded like somebody from Wakanda, pretty much, right?
I see what you did there.
Ooh, something like that.
Yeah, and like it hit me like it had to be Tex um because um because one of the kids couldn't talk, and then the
Yeah.
other one was busy chasing we're too busy chasing each other down the street.
Well, Zora's doppelganger never says anything.
Yeah, she never does. So it must have been to Tex that he was yelling at.
Yeah, most likely.
So what did you think of the kids? Shahadi Wright Joseph and who plays Zora and Umbre, and Evan Alex who plays Jason Wilson and Pluto.
Uh, they're great. They were both great, especially on rewatch. They both characters had some good arcs, great moments. They stood out. They had scenes where they were like by themselves and had to carry it. And the actors, I think they did a great job, especially Evan Alex, who played Jason. What he was incredible, especially as Pluto, where it's just grunts and he has to walk around on all fours most of the time.
Yeah.
And Zora was great too. She could fight. That was a lot of fun to watch, just because. And I remember telling you about that, the violence in the movie and just how satisfying and refreshing it was.
It held nothing back.
But I just like that people weren't presented as idiots that can't defend themselves, and usually movies do that.
Yeah, and it also helped a lot that I think this is something you mentioned, that the others weren't like OP. They're not overpowered. They're just normal people as well, just like they are.
Yeah, they could get the jump on you, but
which I also think is another commentary.
What's that?
From Jordan Peele, that they're just like us.
Right. Yeah. There's nothing dissimilar.
We can hurt them just like they can hurt us. It's a human thing again. It's not. I mean, they're not something supernatural. It's just basically.
Yeah, there's nothing in the movie that suggests that they're anything different from us.
Yeah.
Other than they're exactly like us.
Except that,
which is not. Yeah, it's crazy.
We'll get into that when we talk about the themes. But with these two, what I really like, I think my favorite scene with them is the "fuck the police" part where they're like going through when they're going up the stairs and through the house to take out the.
Well, when Jason he grabs that little stone. It's not little, but it's like a stone on a little stand.
Yeah.
And he puts his mask on, and it's like a funny little like.
Let's go. And then they nod to each other, and they're like, "Yeah, let's go." Yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of that scene.
But with Zora rolls her eyes that he put the mask on. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, that's something we're gonna have to talk about. the mask.
Yeah. Eventually, we'll get to that.
All right. Let's talk about Lupita. What did you think about Lupita? She's the only one left.
Jesus, dude! What an incredible actress! Just what she did with both Adelaide and Red, and I mean the moment Red shows up the first time, like when she sits down and when she starts talking, you're just like,
yeah, that voice, that like
chilling.
Yeah, that voice is like ridiculous. I don't know where she got the inspiration to come up with that, but it and I like.
I heard it was like from like she like studied like schizophrenia, or it was like some kind of mental illness that Lupita studied.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was phenomenal the way that it sounded, because it just sounded like she hadn't used her vocal cords in so long, so they sounded very like it sounded like it was very difficult for her to get the words out, even though she knew them, you know.
Or that she used them so harshly because she was probably screeching and yelling like them to communicate with the rest of them.
Okay. So another theory that I heard was that when the switch happened, that Red fucked up her vocal cords when she choked her.
Possibly, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, so I mean, there's just so many theories. But I just like, but why I do think that it was that is because as the movie went along and the more she spoke, her voice did get better. Like in the third act when she's giving us the info dump.
The biggest exposition dump ever.
Expo dump, when she's like, her voice sounds a lot better there than it does when she first speaks at the beginning.
That could be just for the convenience of she needs to tell us.
Okay, all right.
It could be. I'm just bringing forth like that's another option.
Okay,
but it could be something else.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying okay. But no, I agree. I think Lupita was awesome as both characters. I loved the descent of Red. I think that's a great way of putting it. As the movie went on and as the stakes got higher, to see Red devolve into the beast that she always was. Because through most of the movie, when we see her, we see this version of this character that's holding themselves back all the time, doing everything that she can to not give into her primal impulses. You know, she doesn't eat meat, she doesn't drink alcohol, any of these things she stays away from so that she's able to keep her wits about herself and to not fall back into those patterns that she was raised into. But as the movie goes along, she can't help it, especially when we catch her killing the twin, one of the twins, and she's just killing her, and we see the monster. I mean, maybe not monster, but we see
her more like a natural self.
Yes, we see that in the moment. And also, I love the fact that she's dressed in white, and then the more she kills, the darker her clothes get, the redder her clothes get.
Who told you about that?
Well, what do you mean?
I told you about that.
But I picked up on that as well, Sal.
Oh, okay.
I picked up on that.
Okay. Hey, now we're delegating observation.
I have given you props for every single observation that you've made in the chat.
Fair enough.
Yes.
But I also I really enjoyed that too. That was something I like a day later. I was like, oh man, she's Red at the end of the movie.
Yeah, she is.
And that's her counterpart's name. So, I really enjoyed that that little tidbit of storytelling.
Yeah, I did too. I know you're not a fan of the expo dump, but I actually really, really love that scene.
I didn't mind it. I minded it less the second time I saw it.
Oh, I mean, I guess I can understand. Like the first time, it can be a little jarring because I think that the movie has kind of been moving like steadily for the entire run, and then it kind of slows down in that moment to kind of check to dot the I's and cross the T's. But I think that it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie, mainly because of how she speaks, how she tells it, and I think the writing is like really, really done well there. How she talks about how you can the tethering of the souls and all of these things. I just found it very, very. It just really appealed to me a lot.
No, I agree. I think the reason I didn't. That kind of thing. I like it when flashbacks are just scenes in movies and not like directly introduced in the storytelling as a flashback. If you get what I'm saying.
No, I do. I see what you're saying.
Because it does, and I'm not anti-flashback. I mean, I'm a Man of Steel fan, so.
And a Batman Begins fan.
Exactly. So flashbacks are they're scenes, but I just don't like when they're like the movies, like, here's a flashback. Like, no, just it's a scene.
Well, something that we need to talk about. We need to talk about Madison Curry, who played the young version of who played the young version of Lupita. Oh, she's fantastic. I think that her performance as Young Red is the most unsettling part of this movie. Like, just that smile of hers. Yeah. Is just very, very unsettling, my friend.
Well, in the funhouse mirrors place, in that blue lighting, it looks extra creepy.
It does. Oh, that's actually a great scene. How the mirrors work.
Yeah,
that's such a great scene. It's just fantastic. Honestly, I really like this movie. The more we're talking about it, the more I'm remembering. Like, God, because I haven't seen it in a couple of weeks, and now that we're talking about, like, God damn, this is a good ass movie.
I just saw it. Today's Thursday, and I saw it Sunday.
Look at you lucky bastard.
That's my last time.
You lucky bastard. Even though I think I saw it one time more than you.
Yeah, you've seen it 3 times. I've only seen it twice. But the gap in between the first and second time for me is like almost a month. Yeah. So I did have a lot of time to let it sit with me.
And we've talked about it quite a bit.
Yeah, we have had many conversations, just like randomly, like throughout the day, like, dude, you remember this? Duh, this.
Well, let's talk about themes and theories because, like as mentioned before, there are like a bunch of theories surrounding the mysteries and the aura around this film. Uh, there's like a bunch of things that we wrote down. Sal, anywhere you want to start in particular?
I've actually been itching to talk about the one that you told me about like a couple days after you saw it. You know what I'm talking about?
The theory about the about how Pluto was switched during a previous family vacation.
Probably like a year before, based on some things in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So yeah, this is a theory that I heard on from some YouTube view pages that have talked about how they believe that Pluto and what's
Jason.
Pluto and Jason were switched at a previous vacation, and the reason why is first off, Pluto, the bottom of Pluto's face is burned off. So it's
You know what I noticed on the second time?
tell me,
He can open his mouth.
and
I
the
saw
others
his.
couldn't,
I saw. He didn't open his mouth all the way, but I saw him open his mouth.
huh? And the others couldn't.
Uh,
I'm trying to
well, the
think.
well, Umbre, she just doesn't speak. So I don't know
Yeah,
why.
yeah,
But Pluto, who the theory is that Pluto is the original Jason. That's the
yes,
theory.
yeah. That
But I think it may be because I think we initially thought that his mouth was burned closed,
yeah,
but I
exactly.
think it hurts him to speak.
Yeah, so that's one of the reasons that the bottom of his face was burned off, and
Yeah.
that's why he doesn't speak, unlike the others that can speak. And they say that the reason why Jason, the switch Jason, why he can speak is because Adelaide might have taught him English in the underground.
On the quicks.
Pardon me?
Oh no, you're talking about yeah. Oh, I thought you were gonna say red.
Yeah, yeah, yo, but it's
Oh,
yeah that Adelaide taught him English in the underground, and that basically he
that's a
was
possibility.
yeah. So that and that also at the beginning when he's playing on the beach, and somebody asks him, "Are you building a sandcastle?" and he says, "No, he's building sand tunnels."
Yeah, I
Which
remember that. That stood out to me on the second
yeah,
viewing.
and also how they were saying that he's very weird, and that he has like some kind of ADD, that he can't like stand still or kind of like the people that we saw on the ground were acting. And there was one more thing.
Well, okay, so check this out. So he swears in front of his parents.
And it seemed kind of like he came out of nowhere, like they had never heard him do that before.
Well, it seems like it was an established rule, and he just breaks it kind of like willy nilly, like a
Yeah.
child wouldn't really break a rule like that. And then I remember when they're first when Gabe asks for the baseball bat when they see the family outside,
Oh, you're right.
he tells Jason get the bat, and he's like, what bat?
Yeah, and then it's the sister that goes to get it.
Yes,
You're right.
there's the magic trick with the
Yeah,
lighter,
because
but he doesn't know.
he doesn't know what he's supposed to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they keep asking him like, what does it do? He's like, I don't know. It
Yeah,
does something,
yeah, and also,
which is
he,
probably something he knows about because the doppelgangers they kind of know things about you, but they don't know like the exact information.
I mean, she Red said it. Red said it like they think like us. Red said it.
Yeah,
Yeah, and also another thing that is the beat when the song is playing when they're in the car driving to the beach,
I noticed that this time. I was like, oh shit, this is the
and then she turns around and she's like follow the beat, and she she's snapping her fingers, but she's completely off rhythm,
and so is
and
he.
so is he.
And you know what happens? The daughter Zora notices.
But she kind of just looks away, right? She like
She lets them have their moment,
yeah,
but she notices it.
yeah, like they're both offbeat. So there's just a lot of hints, and then at the end as well, he looks at his mom as though he knows her true origins. Like it's like if like as if he understands where she really comes from, and then he just puts his
Well,
masks on and then looks out the window.
you talking about the end of the movie?
Yeah, when they're driving away when they're driving away from towards
So
Mexico.
how do you think the switch happened? Do you think the original Jason like had an accident and then Adelaide kind of just like goes back and switches?
That's possible.
Like
That's possible
they're on a
because
family vacation and he
what
accidentally burns his face.
but he burns his face because the Jason from upstairs was playing with the magic trick, and then he was playing with the fake light, the magic trick, and then when that lit, it must have burned Pluto's face for real. No, 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 that doesn't work. No, that's not right.
No, I'm thinking like so the theory is that Pluto, the doppelganger,
Hmm.
is the original son
Of
of
Adelaide, of Red, the red,
Gabe and Adelaide,
yeah,
and then at some point, he burned his face doing something.
hmm,
Could have been that magic trick. And Adelaide, and they must be on a family vacation because she only knows the entrance at that beach.
yeah,
So at some point, when that happened, she must have taken her scarred son and switched. That's the theory. So I feel like the new Jason would be aware. Well, yeah, because I've been trying to figure out like why is he staring at her like that at the end of the movie.
yeah. It's very unsettling.
But I guess he wouldn't. I guess he wouldn't exactly know about the switch between Red and Adelaide.
I mean,
So, yeah, that doesn't-
he was underground when it took place. We don't know how much he heard. We don't know how much he saw, but he was there.
Yeah,
He was there. So
it's an interesting theory, and then like on my rewatch on my second viewing, I was like, oh man, this kind of like makes sense here.
I definitely think there's something there. I'm not completely buying into it, but I do think that there is something there with between Jason and Pluto because I feel like their connection between those two was much different than what we saw with the other doubles.
I completely agree
And
because
the way that Jason was able to get Pluto to back up into the fire is why I say that as well.
oh yeah, no, completely. Even the scene with just them two in the closet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, of course.
What did you think that was all about?
I'm still not sure. I'm actually not even sure what the mask thing is about.
Yeah, me.
Like I'm not even sure what him constantly wearing the mask means. Like, is it that
Well,
he
that
was?
kind of goes to my whole like. I guess it goes into the whole like real fake kind of thing that is throughout the movie.
Mm,
Because I don't know if you remember, it's in the beginning of the like towards the beginning of the movie. Adelaide is like laying on the couch and she's staring at the coffee table, or the table right there, the one that she's eventually handcuffed to.
hmm.
And there's a toy spider, and then it's big, and then there's a smaller real spider.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And it's like going,
Crawling.
and yeah, it's crawling underneath it, right? Yeah.
There's a bunch of. Can you remember anything else like that? Because there's a bunch of stuff like that throughout
Like
the whole.
that opening like 15, 20 minutes is just filled with stuff like that. Like there's like when they walk on the beach and like their shadows are superimposed, and then there's another part where she
Yeah,
moves.
it's always that looming shadow thing
Yeah.
because the spider, the fake spider, doppelganger, is much bigger than the real spider.
Yeah, and then when they're at the beach, she picks up like a frisbee that fell on their beach towel. So she picks it up, and then right underneath it, there is like another similar circle to the one that was on top of it, but
Yeah.
it's smaller than the frisbee was.
Yeah.
Like there's all
Yeah,
of
like
these like
perfectly encapsulated the towel circle.
yes, exactly. Like there's like so many like parallels and visual cues that are really hard to like not like they create this impression, and it makes me wonder like what is the message at the heart of it? Like is he trying to say that the people underneath, the people underground are the ones that control the ones up top, or is it the other way around?
Yeah, that's very true. That's it's a tough one to get around your head and try to figure out. That's for sure.
So do you want to hear about the another theory that I heard of?
Sure, go ahead. That's the only one we've ever talked about before.
Well, so the other one is, you know how told you that um Peele has this plan for like these four movies that are tangentially connected.
Yeah.
So the idea was the theory that I heard was that this experiment is this experiment that was tried here was um was from the same family from Get Out. That this was a first attempt at doing whatever it was that they were trying to do, and since that failed, because the movie does say that they failed and they just left them there, and since that failed, that they turned towards the body switch or body takeover thing that we see in Get Out.
Huh. But do they say when in this movie? Do they say when it was abandoned?
Well, from what we get from the very beginning of the movie, like that small the small text that we get, they're talking about how these underground uh things have been around since like the 1800s, right?
Uh, Basically, yeah. But yeah.
Yeah. So,
But I'm talking about.
but I mean, what I'm saying is like that family that we saw in Get Out, they seem to be from generational wealth, right? Like I think that was one of the big things about it. So there is a possibility like it's not exactly the same people, but that maybe their ancestors began this program and it's something that just kind of continued going forward within, like
No,
basically
but
that Get Out and us are part of the same world.
no, I get that, but I want to know when they abandoned it because I
Oh,
don't
that
think
we don't know. That we don't know.
because I don't think that lines up
Probably okay.
because it seems like I guess I'm guessing the first scene in Us is in the 80s and it seems abandoned, but the Get Out science experiment seems like something they've been doing. Maybe it does line up actually.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. That the
I just want
abandoned,
to maybe as the movies,
like
as the
us,
Cloverfield
yeah.
series goes on.
Yeah, that us is the beginning of it, and then Get Out is the next step in the evolution of these experiments.
Probably I could get that.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of people. But how do you get everyone's DNA?
That's
And they're like,
that's crazy.
and you know what? Like, I think this is part of why the movie is not being discussed or is being well appraised. Is because the movie doesn't explain the doppelgangers and
No, it doesn't.
like the movie. So my thing about it is that the movie never presents that information as important to the story
Hmm.
or the plot.
Yeah.
So it's just not important.
Hmm.
But you can still ask questions and theorize. But I don't think you should hold that against the movie. So that's my take on why somebody wouldn't like the movie for that reason.
No.
But how do you get? So the women down there get pregnant, but they have the same child.
Yeah.
That's a stretch.
It's
So let's say you make you take the DNA of a man and a woman, and you make two clones,
yeah.
and they have sex on the same night,
Hmm.
and on the same day, 9 months later, they're not going to have the same kid. Because they did talk about how they're pregnant down there.
Yeah, they are, and how she had to cut herself open to give birth to Pluto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're not clones. You can't be a clone because that doesn't work like
No,
that.
they're not clones. There's something else. We don't know what they are, but I don't think that clone is the right way of describing it. And this is
That's
something.
why I've been calling them doppelgangers.
Yeah, and this is something that I've been talking about with Joy, and Joy. You know how eloquent Joy is. Joy said that
Yeah, I like Blade Runner.
to buy into.
I like how you just went right past
You're
that.
such a jerk, man.
I love Joy. She needs to come back. She needs to analyze the movies.
And she said something. She said that to buy into us, you have to believe that there is something far deeper, like on a human level, than just what you're seeing at face value. That there's something deeper that's connecting us all on a much more profound level than what we believe.
She's like relating that idea to like the relationship between the doppelgangers and us
Yeah,
upstairs.
and like down to the fact that, like you just said, the way that the children are copies, basically, like that they're like this idea of tethering of souls, basically, right?
Pretty much, because what the movie presents is that they have sex, get pregnant, and have the same exact person as their child.
Yeah.
That's some other. I didn't want to bring any swear words, but that's some other shit, man.
That's some next level shit. I'll even go further than you on that one. So can I tell you one of the things that I loved about this movie?
Go ahead.
They
Absolutely.
escaped to Mexico.
What do you mean?
They escaped to Mexico.
Oh, right. At the end of the movie, they're like
she says,
the Wilson family, right?
Yes, they're like, we need to go to Mexico.
Yeah.
Like, that's just so fucking relevant and just ridiculous to me on so many different levels. You know, like
I don't even think we need to say why. Like it just it makes sense.
It's just and I think that this is Peele. Like this is him again doing this subversion that he's done way back since the Key and Peele days, right? And I think that it's such an interesting idea that
I agree.
Path to safety
Is in Mexico,
where we are trying to keep people out. And then that's where we're going to go to find safety.
Yeah,
like, I love that.
What's it called? What do you think about the Hands Across America?
Well, quite a bit because
it's pretty crazy.
It is. It really is. It is because I think that the original Hands Across America, the point of that was to raise money and to raise awareness towards poverty and towards people that were forgotten, right? And that's why they started this entire process. But I think that it didn't work out. I think it was a failure because there was a lot of the terrain that they couldn't go to. There was a lot of places that they couldn't go because of hills and so on and so forth. But in the last shot of the movie, we see the doppelgangers clearly and easily standing on those hills.
Oh wait, Hands Across America was really attempted?
Yeah, back in the 80s. That's a real thing.
I thought it was more of a symbolic thing. I didn't know that
it was an actual thing. You know what? Let me Google it just to make sure, but I do remember it being an actual thing back in the day.
Dude, that's some crazy.
Yeah, it was. It was
ambitious.
A public event on Sunday, May 25th, 1986, in which approximately 6.5 million people held hands for 15 minutes in an attempt to form a continuous human chain across the contiguous United States. So, yeah, the first scene in Us takes place in 1986.
Okay.
Yeah.
But did they actually do it, or was it like you said they had some issues with like the mountains and stuff?
They tried to do it.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Hey, I thought it was a symbolic thing. I didn't think that was like some actual event that took place.
No, it was.
But that makes the ending a little bit more powerful that the doppelgangers actually did it.
Exactly.
I always felt like the Hands Across America was like. Well, I feel like this movie's trying to talk about some deep pain that is in the United States at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the doppelgangers can be used as like some sort of metaphor for within, like so there's some kind of a thing within us that we have to bring out, and it's the only way that there's going to be any kind of change from this pain. Because obviously the doppelgangers do succeed in their Hands Across America. So the victory is like this, we have to come together because the country, I really think that the title is really clever.
Yes, it is incredibly clever.
Because like whenever I type it out, and when I talk to the movie about you, I type in capital US.
Mm-hmm.
Because like that's what I think of the title of the movie. And like I remember being like thrown for a loop, like when Adelaide, or was it Adelaide or Gabe asks like, "Who are you?" to the doppelgangers, and Red is like, "We are Americans." And I was like, "Oh, this movie is like," because I really thought going into this movie, I thought it really was going to be another racial film.
I think most people did, and I do think that
And
that
then,
plays into the reception that it's gotten.
absolutely. But then when she said we are Americans, I was like, oh fuck, this is some crazy.
Especially
this is
when
just
especially when you realize that they're not the only doppelgangers.
Yes. No. Yeah.
When she says that mixed in, when she says that we sounds much more powerful, because it's not just us, the four of us in this house right now. It is all of us that are gonna stand in this line.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that really puts things into perspective, because that was also the doppelganger's strength. It was that unity that they had. It was the fact that it didn't matter what color their skin was. It didn't matter how much money they made. It didn't matter what car they drove or what boat they had. All that mattered is that they suffered together. All
I
that
loved
mattered.
that. I love that between the husbands, the stupid capitalism and materialism that was consuming the husbands in the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah,
The things that are used to even if you're not racist,
yeah. The thing
like
is,
capitalism.
yeah.
And capitalism and materialism can be used to divide you and create this kind of weird competition about things that don't matter in the long run.
Exactly. Like yeah,
And I really
Gabe
that
was
part of the
like,
movie resonated with me the second time. I was like, "Oh fuck."
yeah, that's the thing. Like there's Gabe is completely lost in trying to get everything that I forgot his name. Everything that oh God, what's his name? Let me look it up. I don't want to. Everything that Josh has, he got the boat because Josh got a boat, and then when he sees,
you know what some people would call these guys?
what, Friends?
Asleep. They're asleep, aren't they?
Yeah, I guess that's one way of putting it.
Because they're just I mean, yeah, like their conversation on the beach. I think you were gonna mention that.
Pardon me? Yeah,
Their
yeah, yeah.
conversation
Because
on the beach.
when you get to the beach, that's when you realize that's when you realize that because Gabe shows off the boat and he's very proud of it. But you only realize when he's talking to Josh that he got the boat to impress Josh.
Yeah,
and then
it wasn't just like, it wasn't like a family. We're gonna have a great time this weekend. It was a competition.
Exactly. Like he was like, even I remember at one point he's like, "Did you notice his new car? He got that just to fuck with me." Like you could tell that that he can't stand the fact that Josh has a nicer car, a nicer house, a nicer boat than he does, and that's even like more played with in the movie when he kills Josh's doppelganger in that boat.
And then he takes his car.
And then he takes the car. And the funny thing is, he did not want to leave Josh's house. He's like, we got food, we got water, we got a generator. And it's when she's like, and then it was when he heard, oh, we can take the Land Rover, we can take the Range Rover. That's when it's like, let's go.
Yeah, like, he was still snoring. He was still even in the even when presented.
Yeah, he couldn't help himself. He couldn't help himself.
Even with presented with the information that the country is under attack, he was still in his little materialism game.
Yeah, and that's the true.
The dude's dead body is right there.
Yeah, and that's the difference between these people and their doppelgangers. Like the doppelgangers, the unity that they showed, they had a plan and they sought it out together, because all they knew was their shared pain. That's it. Like that's all they had. It was living in this space together, being so close to one another, eating these rabbits and just feeling.
You know what this reminds me of?
Tell me.
I know we can't avoid ever talking about this stuff, but
We can. We just choose not to. But just go ahead and say it.
not just the Dark Knight's version of the Joker, but kind of the Joker character in general. His disdain for civilized people.
Yeah, they'll eat each other.
And
They're only as good as the
yeah,
world allows them
and
to be.
but it's not just in the Dark Knight. It's in other
Yeah.
Batman stories. It's in like I remember in
Only
the
one bad day away from being like me, and so on and so forth. Yeah, and
I
I think
remember
that
in one of the Arkham video games, the Joker's like, I killed the mayor, but he was a corrupt mayor, so isn't that a good thing?
Mm.
And it's like I think it's kind of this same kind of message that just because we wear clothes and we say hello, sir, ma'am, and all this and that civilized behavior doesn't mean that we're not savages in other ways.
But and what the movie shows us that when they start killing them, when they start killing their doppelgangers,
Yeah.
like at one point there's a conversation when they're like, I killed two of them, I killed one of them, I killed just to show you that when nature comes into play, it like all of these things that we put ahead, like all of this like societal pressures, it just goes out the window and we just become our baser instincts. And I think that that's what you're saying, that these instincts like are within us. They're inside of us, and we need to.
Oh, dude, you said the title of the movie.
And that at some point we got to face these things, because until we do, we'll never be able to reach our full potential. Because instead of facing this darkness that's within us, we just ignore it. And then it festers until it's unleashed in one
and you know
way or another.
what was another? Remember when Zora and Gabe, they see the demonstration, they see the hands across America?
Yeah.
What does he say? It's like some stupid art.
Performance art?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
funny that that's the same thing that they said about the original one, too, that actually took place. Oh, crap.
no, that is funny. But that reminds me of like how like these violent events in our country are kind of normalized, and we just kind of which I think is part of the movie's like kind of overall thing, is that the United States is in some kind of pain, and that the doppelgangers are this kind of answer to that pain. That's what I get from the movie.
Isn't that something the quote from Jeremiah? Isn't that basically what it says as well?
I'll look that up real quick, actually. Because can you describe what you're talking about?
Jeremiah 11:11. Isn't that the quote that the Bible verse that we see written on the placard at the beach both times, that before hold on, let me see. Therefore thus saith the Lord, behold, I will bring evil upon them which they shall not be able to escape. And though they shall cry unto me, I will hearken unto them. Are you still there?
Oh, I have a different one, but you probably got it a different version of the Bible.
Yeah, there's so many versions of the Bible.
It's basically the same thing, but what's it called? So this is something that the younger Adelaide sees a homeless guy at the beginning on the pier. Mm-hmm. He's holding the sign that says, Jeremiah 11:11. Mm-hmm. Then the next time you see it is when Jason points to the clock. He says, "Look," and it's 11:11. Later on, that homeless guy is killed by his doppelganger, taken into an ambulance.
I think he's the first.
Which the family sees.
He's the first victim.
Later on, at the end of the movie, you see that homeless man where he's standing on the beach, exactly where Jason first saw him, and on his forehead is 11:11. Mm-hmm. And there's that whole imagery of ambulances, which I still have no idea what that means.
Same here, brother. Same here.
Because there's the toy ambulance.
We should have done our research. I feel like we're letting everybody down.
It has to be something with the history of ambulances in the United States. Ambulances, like I do emergencies, like it really just doesn't. It's like it's either like nothing or some really like.
No, it's definitely something. I'm sure it's because they keep coming back. There's at least 5 or 6 different There's like 5 or 6 different instances where we're faced with them, so it has to mean something.
Yeah, and then that was something on my first viewing. I was like, okay, ambulances are something in this movie because
Yeah,
it's
and
just coming
besides,
up way
that's
too many
it's the
times.
ambulance that they use to escape to Mexico.
Is that the same ambulance that they saw earlier?
I don't know. I really don't know. It might be because it's at the fairground as well, so it might be.
Yeah, and then there's the toy ambulance that's used to
Yeah. Hold the door
block the
open
door.
so it won't
Yeah, so that
close.
you're not locked inside.
Yeah.
But that's what I keep trying to think about. Like, is our ambulances some kind of thing that hold us back or prevent something from happening? Like,
Whenever you get to meet Jordan Peele, you get to ask him. All right.
yeah, that's like I'm gonna skip Get Out and just
Yeah.
like I don't care about Jesse Owens. Like, just tell me
He
about
said Jesse.
because there's the Jesse Owens little Easter egg, right? Get Out.
The because he talks about running on the beach, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the grandfather, I think he raced him at one point or something like that.
Yeah. And yeah.
But yeah, the ambulance thing is just still like I got no idea. But the Jeremiah 11:11, that's that's definitely like something that looms over the movie as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about this idea that how we're so used to seeing the enemy from without instead of the idea that these creatures are coming from beneath the ground. You know, the idea that they're coming from within. Like, I feel like America has been so focused with enemies from outside its borders, whether they come from Central America, whether they're from the Middle East, and from all of these places. But in us, the villains come from beneath the ground. They're here already on the soil. The idea is that the enemy is not without but within, and that it is festering here, and that the true destruction of America or of society or whatever will not come from an exterior factor, but from the people that are here, that are now, that are being forgotten.
No, I completely agree, and it's something that's kind of always been like a talking point. Is like whenever the United States goes somewhere to stop a dictator or something, whatever, some kind of made up reasoning for going somewhere because there's actually a real reason for going somewhere.
Yeah.
People are always like, "There's plenty of problems here." Like, that's always kind of like a talking point, and I feel like this movie kind of encapsulates that in a way.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at like certain cities, so like the inner cities in certain parts of the country, like some of those places are like war zones. You know?
Well, like what's it? I think it was Dave Chappelle made a joke one time, or some comedian. Somebody they were like, if Iraq or Iran or whatever is like so dangerous, how come they took it over in 2 hours?
Yeah, that's Chris
like,
Rock. That's Chris Rock.
Right. And
That's
then
Chris
he's
Rock.
like, you couldn't take over Baltimore in fucking 15 days.
You can take Baltimore in a week. Yeah, there's too many guns.
Dude, and imagine trying to like take over like Detroit in like the 90s or something.
Or Chicago right now.
Chicago right now, trying to take over. Yeah, just there's what Flint, Michigan, is this town in the United States that hasn't had fresh water
In years.
in like 6 or 7 years. They're barely about to get like a new kind of freshwater system, like barely now.
And nobody's and it took forever to get anything done.
And that's not even like that's like some deep rooted political stuff that prevented that from happening. There's just like a lot of things in the United States that are just like, this is a real, like, not even social stuff. There's just like people are in pain, and whether it's like the root cause is like social media or the changes in parenting, the changes, all sorts of changes that have come with the 21st century, like kind of post 9/11, have caused the country to be in some kind of pain. And I totally forgot where we were going with this. But there's like the whole the within problem that the movie is trying to present. That's what we were talking about, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The problem is within, not the exterior issues.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I completely agree with the perspective and the message in the movie that there is actual real issues, and like maybe we have international listeners. I don't know.
We do.
That have no idea about Flint, Michigan.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
No,
like,
definitely.
This is just things that aren't. So I do appreciate I was about to say Get Out. Us for bringing that kind of idea to the forefront.
Mm.
Well, what I wish would be the forefront. Do you want to talk about the reception of the movie?
Yes, let's. Let's do that.
I already know what I'm going to say. You already know my theory, so...
I want to hear it. Go ahead. I like your theory.
Okay, so let me pull out the file.
That's a mighty thick file.
Right. Well, I just think that so the big thing that has taken over the internet in the past few years has been memes.
Memes
used to be faces. You remember that? Like those black and white sketches?
Mm-hmm.
That's what a meme is. These new things we have now aren't memes, I would say, so to speak. They're more like, they're just jokes with text, or not even. Like they're just like a reaction image, which is often used on Twitter.
Yeah.
So now I believe memes are used as a sort of marketing. You see this a lot with like Fortnite or anything that kind of gets into the pop culture zeitgeist in like the forefront. So like whenever a Marvel movie comes out, there's always like the memes from the previous movie start to come back, and then when the movie drops, like after this weekend, we're about to get a ton of Endgame memes. Like some have come because of the leaked footage, but we're about to get a ton, and that's just because. Yeah, that's very true. Because we're just not gonna. Because it's something that's at the forefront of the pop culture, and the people that are in charge of the Marvel movies or anything that takes that kind of forefront presence, they have this access to where these memes can take control and be a sort of kind of pseudo marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Get Out definitely had that.
I do. Yeah, definitely.
There was from just not, I'm not going to say it, but from your perspective, was there a lot of memes surrounding Get Out, and did it have a large presence in the marketing of the movie?
As far as I'm concerned, yeah, it did. Like I saw a lot of memes concerning Get Out before, because I didn't see Get Out right away. I think Get Out was in theaters for 6 weeks before I saw it. So in that time period, I had seen like a lot of different memes from the guy that played the dad, Bradley Whitford, with the whole, if I could have, I would have voted Obama into office a third time. We all know what that means, right?
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. So yeah, I do believe that memes were, and I do think it plays more to what Get Out was trying to do as well. I feel like Get Out.
Yeah,
was
I think that it's kind of.
I think Get Out was also much more deliberate in trying to instill those moments within that film, and you don't get that in this one.
No, yeah, there's not a lot of.
I feel like in Us, there's a high level of restraint, and there's also like a high level of subtlety that's there. And I think,
the movie plays it straight. There's not a lot of like.
I think there's
like,
much. I think that's something that Peele did consciously. He refused to get boxed in, and I think that he made very specific choices to make this film as different from Get Out as could be.
Yeah, and I don't think Get Out is a comedy. Even though even though the big thing that year was that the Golden Globes thought it was.
The thing is, like,
No, I know your stance on this. I know what you mean.
I have a lot of issues with Get Out. I have a lot of issues with Get Out. But I do think that the film, I wouldn't know how to qualify it, to be honest with you. It's like, it's not a bad thing, but it bounces around so much that I think it could be a bunch of different things. I do understand why some people could call it a comedy.
No, yeah, there's definitely comedic moments.
Yeah, yeah.
But I would.
I mean, there's a whole character
Yeah.
that's in Get Out mostly to be comedic relief.
And Us doesn't have that at all.
No, not. I don't think so. I don't think Us
No.
has that. Like, I thought so in my first viewing with
Gabe.
but the more I watched it, the more I realized that this is more than that.
Yeah, he's it's more so like commentary and metaphors along with the
Yeah, exactly.
with the messages of the movie. But yeah, that's just like my whole theory on like why I think there's other things, like I think Get Out
But I
speaks
also
more.
but to go on, I also think that like the subject matter in Us, I think, is a lot harder to talk about than the stuff from Get Out. I think Get Out,
That's what I was just about to say.
Yeah.
Get Out is a little bit more. It is more deliberate and obvious,
yeah, and
but it's,
and honestly,
but
like,
it's also speaking about things that people care about more. I guess you could say,
I think that's fair. I think that's a fair way
because
of putting it, yeah.
especially in film, like diversity, diversity in film, and like I don't know how else to say. Like there's a abbreviation. If you catch my drift, that is used a lot when we talk about this stuff. No, yeah, it's definitely, and that's kind of a marketing thing as well.
Yeah, it does.
But I think that's a little bit more personal in Get Out than the broad nature of Us.
Yeah, like exactly. I do think that Get Out is far more mainstream, I guess is a good way of putting it. I think Get Out has much more mainstream appeal to those social issues that he was portraying. But I think that what's going on in Us, it's again, I think that it again reflects the movie itself. It's these things that we all know and we all feel, but we're not ready to confront yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like it's just damn, I was gonna say something too.
I bet it was good too.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah, man, same here. This is why Joy and Mike take notes.
Probably, yeah, I would assume so.
Do you want to?
Oh no, would you say Get Out is ambitious?
No,
I don't think so either. I think Us is. Yes. I think it's a lot more artistic.
Yes. We're about to talk about cinematography and score and favorite moments, and I think we'll get into that. But I do think that there is more craftsmanship in Us than there was in Get Out.
Well, not even from that kind of perspective, like from a technical side, I agree, but I also like just what it's trying to do.
Yeah. When I said no, I don't think Get Out is ambitious whatsoever.
And that's what I think, for some reason or another, ambition and artistry just does not resonate on the broad spectrum of the general audience.
I think there's more than enough evidence to support your theory.
Just overall, like the memes and stuff.
The memes, and we see what sells. We see what does so well at the box office, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, we live in a time where we want less. Like we live in a time where we don't want to think about things. We don't want to fully be invested emotionally in things. We want things to be very shallow, that we can quickly resonate and quickly dial it down and quickly just ascertain what's in front of us. That's why films that tend to be more artistic, that take more rewatches, that take more of an analytical perspective on things, don't do as well.
I mean, I completely agree, and this is something that we talk about very often amongst the exiles,
Too often.
constantly,
Too often.
too often. Because it's just I think for us, we all know we just are very frustrated by it.
Yeah.
Because we care about art so much, and it's not that the exiles prefer one kind of art. They would like all art to exist, and I think that's the main bane of the existence for the exiles.
Mm.
But I completely agree. I mean, yeah, it's something we talk about all the time.
All
it's
the
just,
time.
it's just anything that's a little bit too much. And Millennial Mike always lets us know he has his little litmus test that he pulls off, and he lets us know like this is what people are thinking about this.
I don't know how he does it, but I'm really glad that he's here for that.
Yeah, no, me too.
All right, so do you want to move forward into our favorite moments and scenes?
Yeah, sure. Because do you want to skip cinematography and score?
Yeah, I think we can mostly do that. Yeah.
Because I think that'll come out
While we're talking about
Yeah.
You want to go first?
So favorite moments and scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I'll go. Actually, I didn't think. I love the movie so much. I don't want to pick the obvious. I'll go with it. Fuck it. The end fight, the finale fight between Red and Adelaide. The cutting back and forth between the dancing.
Yeah.
The ballet, the music, the score is like incredible. It's the music from the trailer.
Yeah.
But it's incredible.
It's incredible. That's it. Like I love when she's like, to think that without you, I never would have danced at all.
I mean, I still don't fully understand the visual language of the tethering and the dancing.
Yeah.
But I'm blown away both times. I was just like, oh my god, this is beautiful.
Yeah, like it's the whole thing is set up so wonderfully, and they're basically dancing. Like they're dancing. Like their battle is a dance, and the way that the music keeps cutting and that violin riff that dun, dun, is just so dramatic and so heightens every bit everything that plays out. It's an amazing sequence.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and the dance number, like when she's younger, just the light, shining towards the screen, giving her the silhouette.
Yeah.
It's all great. It's all beautiful, and I mean, and the exposition dump actually sets it up pretty well. Like you said, it all works.
Yeah,
so well.
It builds up to it wonderfully.
Yeah, all the information that you're given, and yeah. But yeah, I can't really, because I like the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, to be honest, like from beginning, I noticed that the second time, just from beginning to end, it just is a smooth, like.
And the movie goes by really quickly. Like it's very well paced. Like I didn't think it's paced wonderfully.
It's I haven't seen a movie that well threaded like that since maybe 2016. No, for real, because that pacing, that just the threading of the needle like that was pretty smooth. That was
incredibly smooth.
That was prowess.
I would say my favorite moment I love the parallel between Adelaide's time at the carnival and Red's, how they're basically both seeing the same thing, but their worlds are so different.
Yeah.
I think that hits so hard when you see what they're each seeing. Like they're living in the same place. They're basically right above and under one another.
Yeah, it's as above, so below.
But their lives are completely different. And I think that fully encapsulates the message in the movie, that we all live in America, but our experiences are so different.
Yeah.
And that we can't even connect to one another to be able to understand that. And when the two girls meet, Red's reaction is to strangle Adelaide and throw her beneath and to hide her away from the light. And I love this moment during the info dump when she says, "You could have taken me with you."
Yeah.
And that's so true. Like at the end of the day, it's so true. We can raise everyone, but we choose not to. And I think that that's such an interesting message to put into this type of movie.
Yeah, I actually didn't really put that kind of thing together till right now, but yeah, that's a great pick.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. You're welcome, dog. This is what I'm here
Uh,
for.
did you like in the exposition dump the superimposed
Yeah,
um
I kind of dug it. I kind of dug it. I ain't gonna lie.
those
That was pretty slick.
I like the just like half the screen is her face. It reminded me of like older movies that did that a lot.
Yeah, he used to do that quite a bit in some sketches for Key and Peele.
I don't really I don't remember that.
Yeah,
It's been a while. That show is a masterpiece.
it really is. It really is. It really is. I enjoy it quite a bit.
And I was thinking about how dark the ending is for the movie, that the innocent girl that went down there in the funhouse mirror thing
How she
eventually dies.
But she welcomed it though.
Well, that's true, and she came up with a fucking great plan.
Yeah, she welcomed her death. She won, if you think about it.
Yeah, no, she
won.
Lex Luthered it.
Yeah, and I like the whistling that she whistled at the end.
Yeah, no, that was pretty creepy to be
Yeah,
honest.
it was, but it's a nice touch to everything that took place in that movie.
But yeah, I was thinking about how dark the ending is just compared to the cinematic landscape.
Truly,
Uh,
you're right. Yeah,
Yeah, just the little innocent girl that went down there eventually did die. That's fucking crazy.
yeah, it is. She couldn't make it out, not all the way, but honestly, she could have if she wasn't so intent on getting revenge.
And yeah, no, I agree. It's something that definitely consumed her.
Yeah.
The scene like that you're talking about when they're you see her world versus the Red's world.
Yeah,
I always thought it was interesting that when they get to the stairs at the same time, like how the geographical like landscape of their worlds is like the exact same thing.
yeah,
I always thought that was like the mirror. I
Yeah.
thought that was interesting. Like when she gets to the escalator, and like Adelaide is at the stairs on the pier. I
Yeah.
thought that was interesting.
yeah. It was those were all wonderful touches. No. He really did a good job on that stuff, man.
Oh yeah,
there
I was really blown away when I saw this movie the first time. To be honest,
There's something else I wanted to bring up.
no, I hate when that happens.
Yeah, it was. I like the scene where I mentioned it before, where Red kills the twin and her son walks in and watches her just fully like beast moding and just
You're like, let's go.
yo, I love that scene. I think that's some of the best acting that Lupita had to do.
She was really good in the movie.
Yeah,
Like
there we go. Now my favorite.
I would forget that she was playing both parts.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, same here. Like even now, just talking about it over the. Another scene that I really liked is when she's telling Gabe about what happened to her as a kid.
Oh, bro, when she's shaking.
And she's like looking at. She's not even looking at. She's looking at. She starts by looking at her. She's looking at her reflection, and
Yeah.
she has her back turned to him. She's telling him, and then she walks to him, and then at one point he says something, and she looks at him like she wants to kill him. Like I don't know.
No, because she says that she doesn't feel like herself.
Oh, and he's like,
you look like yourself.
And then and then she gives him that look. Like I'm like, wow. Like
It was
the levels on this movie are great.
I like when he like lays down on the bed. He's like getting all situated. He's like,
Oh
hey.
yeah.
He Spider versus her. He's hey.
Another thing that I found interesting is like,
Oh no, and he's like, I'll see you in the magic room.
another thing that I find really interesting is this idea that she was always afraid that little girl would come back and take her place back. I think that you can like there's a lot of people who come from these places from like when I say these places I mean like for a lot of people that have come from like poor environments, who have come from difficult childhoods, who make it out, and they're constantly trying to fit into like a certain prescribed way of being, right? And they're always trying to hide who they really are. And I think that this movie kind of brings that up as well. Do you get what I'm saying, or am I going too
Wait,
far?
say it one more time.
Yeah, it's this idea about like making it out of your poverty into like corporate America, and then you're trying so hard to fit into,
Oh,
to be accepted, that you're trying to forget who you were as you were coming up. And I kind of got that kind
like
of vibe.
you can't take the hood.
Yeah, you can't take the man out the hood, and I kind of
Yeah.
got that vibe also from this movie as well.
I wouldn't put that past Jordan Peele,
Mm.
especially with what the movie. Yeah.
Is that like maybe some of himself that he's putting in there as well? That
Well, because he is mixed. He is biracial. He's black and white, and they bring that up on Key and Peele.
Yeah, all the
for
time
both.
because they're both black and white.
I mean, I feel like that was one of the original theories about what Us was going to be about, based on the trailer.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was one of those kind of black families that
make it, and they try to like turn their backs onto their origins.
and that the doppelgangers were like the hood, the hood coming to get you, or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's there, but not in that. But in a much more subtle and more.
It's in a human sense.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's
not
more. It's more universal because I think that it goes far deeper than just black people. I think that many people do it. Like just many. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You good?
Kind of going back to what we were saying before. Do you think that also plays a factor into the? I kind of brought it up with the SJW thing, but do you think that
with the reception of the movie?
Do you think the universal approach, which is funny because the movie's made by Universal, do you think the universal message and approach is also hurting the?
I think so. I do.
Because there's other movies that we really like that had universal messages, which I talked about in my article. They didn't.
You just have
but there's this common trend. You see?
Yeah, I do, and I do think it plays a part.
I did tell you guys.
I do think it plays a part. I agree with you.
I did tell you guys at one point too in one of the chats, because we have several for no reason.
For no reason.
We have a lot of chats.
We have a new one just for endgame spoilers, like just.
But I did compare BVS and Us at one point, just in like their.
I must have missed that.
what they're attempting to do with their reception, and like versus the overall climate of the cinema landscape, like.
But Us is much better. Has much better received than BVS.
Oh, I mean, yeah, when you're not attacked by everyone on the internet,
you're good. Yeah, but I see what you're saying. I definitely think that there are definite parallels between the two. And honestly, like I really, really love this movie, especially after talking about it with you as much as we have.
No, when I first saw it, I was being tame. I was trying to not be overly excited about it.
I do the same thing. I just saw Hellboy and I was trying to do the same. But I'm gonna be real. I fucking loved Hellboy, man. I really did.
That's great.
I fucking loved Hellboy. I enjoyed that movie so much. I'm gonna do a pod all by myself about Hellboy.
But I also wasn't trying to, because I wasn't sure if anybody else was gonna like Us as much as I did.
Yeah.
So I wasn't trying to overhype anybody. But the more I thought about it, the more I got my words out there, the more I talked about it with you. I was like, damn, I think I love this movie. Like,
I'm pretty sure.
Oh shit!
I'm pretty sure I love it.
Same here, and it's definitely it has that BVS effect. It just keeps growing, and just you get more. And that's why I can't wait to when it comes out on home media.
Yeah, me either. I can't wait. Yeah, I can't wait. So I think we should wrap it up, man. Let's give our final thoughts about Us. Sal, you want to get us started?
Yeah, sure. So, like I said at the top of the podcast, it's definitely my favorite movie of the year so far. It's a great next step for Jordan Peele, and I can't wait to see what he does next, especially after hearing about what you said about the 4-movie plan. And yeah, it's a really powerful film once you really get down to what's under the surface. No pun in, well, yeah, fuck it,
No.
pun intended.
Intend that damn pun. Intend that pun.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a really great food for thought kind of thing, especially like what the Exiles are all about and what the fans are all about. It's really our kind of thing. So
I agree.
if you made it this far and you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend it. It's a great film. I really love it.
It is.
I was actually like blown away.
I completely agree with Sal. I love this movie. I think that it's such a step up from Get Out. I think that Jordan Peele is evolving as a storyteller, as a director. He's gained confidence, I'm willing to say, and I cannot wait to see what he does next. And
it's really exciting.
And we didn't even talk about how the twist is presented and how it completely changes your subsequent viewings of the movie. Like, it's a movie that when you finish it and you get the truth,
the Adelaide twist,
like, and you get the truth, it makes you want to look back at this movie in a completely different light, and I think that is old school filmmaking that we don't see anymore. Like, I think that Nolan was able to do it with The Prestige, but not many movies come to mind when I think about it.
With the like the perfect twist.
Yeah, like the perfect twist makes you like a second viewing of the movie kind of feels like you're watching it for the first time because now you know what you didn't. So it's a movie that you get, like you like to say, that you get rewarded for rewatches. And I do. Like, there's so many things that I keep picking up that I didn't even have time to mention over this pod, but the great thing about film is that it's always there and the conversation never goes away. It's always there. Like, their house is covered with paintings that Red made over the years. And I think that speaks so much to how she grew up and how art became such an important part of her life. And when Red walks into the house, the first thing she does is she goes to the painting above the fireplace and she stands there and she looks at it for a few seconds. And to this moment, I have no idea what was so special about that painting.
She's probably like, "Oh, this is what they did with you."
I think maybe.
Oh, okay.
Maybe
for sure. She's probably a little mad.
Maybe, but this, like I'm saying, this, and like even over the course of the pod, there's so many things that you and I don't have answers to, and I think that the more we talk about it, the more we watch it, and the more that we try to share it with people, we'll get more of that.
Yeah, and it's crazy how it's just been kind of like just over the past month, because it's been about a month or so, but like just how Get Out was the overly praised one, and it's kind of almost forgotten now.
I agree.
And this one is just way more. Just I enjoy it way more. I know that like I'm so far into my film fan career that I just know when I'm gonna love something for a long time and continue to grow with it. And this is one of those movies.
I agree. So why don't we drop our ats and get the hell out of here, man?
Yeah. So actually, my Twitter situation is hilarious.
For lack of a better word, I've been waiting this whole pod to get you here.
Yeah. But what's it called? I changed my at today. So it's at SALAZAR 32516. If anybody can guess what those numbers mean, you don't really get anything, but it's cool points.
Alright, and if you want to reach me, you can reach me at manunited0710. And please follow the Exiles at the Film Exiles, or follow the network at the Exiles Net. Thank you, Sal, for being with me.
Wait, hold on. And we're on Instagram. We're on Vero. Is there anywhere else? Any kind of other thing you want to plug for the podcast?
We're on Tumblr, RIP Tumblr. We have a Patreon, so if you want to join us on our Patreon, you can do that as well.
Yeah, you can listen to this podcast early, any podcast we put out there early.
Along with our upcoming X-Men commentary tracks that we'll be putting on in honor of the release of
Dark
the
Phoenix.
So yeah, there's a bunch of things, and of course, follow the Ronin Council. Mike and Pranav are out there doing whatever it is they're out there doing, and of course, always read Not the Popular Opinion, which is Gray's blog. So please, if you want to reach out to us, you know where to find us.
And follow the Release the Snyder Cut account, because we just had a big success. I mean, I have no affiliation. Like I don't run that account, but I don't want to make it sound like I was speaking for them. But the movement just had a big push with the videos, and they deserve a follow. If you want to be a part of something like that and you want to support artistic integrity, just speaking for myself, I don't want to speak on behalf of the Exiles, but yeah, that's something that is really great to see as a film fan.
I actually agree. That's two of us. So, with that said, have a good night, have a good day wherever you are, and thank you for listening.